Okay, I think I am situated. Are you ready to rock and roll?
I'm ready.
All right.
Even though I said I'm ready and I shook my hand.
Even though you said you're ready and then you interrupted?
Yeah, I went, I'm ready.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Sandbox.Space weekly podcast. I'm your host, Chris, joined as always by Baby, who is over there, who has an upset belly. So we have been up all night, and we have been out this morning at least 4 times. So we'll see how this podcast goes if she needs to pull me away. We might have to take a little break. Yeah, poor baby girl. But this is the weekly talk show where we talk about the games industry. And of course, every week we have a special guest. This week's special guest is Chamberlain of UA Creative Studios, which is a videography and photography and creative direction house, who also happens to live in Upper Arlington. So Yua of UA Creative Studios, who lives in UA, the city. So I couldn't have planned it better myself if I had tried.
Yeah.
How are you doing, Yua?
I'm doing well, man. It's good to see you. How are you doing?
Good. It feels like it's been forever since we talked.
I know, right? Or were we just in the wastelands just like an hour ago?
We were just in the wastelands. We were Fauschnachting it or whatever.
Fauschnacht.
Yeah, we were playing Fallout 76, which is our game club game of the month for June. So we've been playing on PlayStation. If people want to join Game Club, you can find us on Twitter and that other thing, Facebook. Yeah. All right, man. So who are you? What do you do? Friend of the show, good friend of mine. You've been involved in the GDEX world for quite a while.
Yeah, I just sent you that photo. The original press pass from 2016.
Oh, yeah.
Tell
people about yourself.
My name is Yua. I work as a creative director. Mostly these days, I do creative direction for companies for their marketing material, and then also I do consulting. Consulting on things like web design, photo projects, video projects, storytelling opportunities when it comes to just marketing material. And when I'm not doing that, love spending time outside and just kind of exploring in nature and spending time with my family. I have a 18-year-old daughter named Evelyn, and we like to do photography and stuff together. And even though Chris and I both share a photo history background, we didn't meet in the photo world. We met through our connection at the mill, the original
our previous office, yeah.
Our previous office, the original Sandbox.Space that I inhabited. So, but yeah, spend a lot of time with Chris and Baby and Pumpkin, and just getting as much baby love whenever possible. So if you can hear me, Baby, I hope you feel better.
Come here. She's staring at me. Let's see if she wants to come up. We'll see if she'll be comfortable.
Little cameo.
Yeah, there she is.
Hi, Baby.
Her little belly. Cute. We'll see how this works. She was eating grass and kind of getting a little sick. So we'll see how it goes.
She feels better.
Yeah. So we had the office. You ended up taking what was going to be the original Sandbox. It was the Sandbox incubator for like half of a day before the landlord came in. Like literally the party wasn't even like fully over yet. The kickoff party event. It was like our opening event for the Sandbox. Literally, it was not done before Craig was nailing up the divider between the two areas again. So it did not last very long.
I was not privy to that, but I will tell you. Do you remember if the event, if it was raining that night at all?
I don't remember. I don't think it was.
Because I know I signed the lease like at night. It was like the strangest thing. He wanted to meet with me like at night at a coffee shop, and I signed the yellow legal pad of paper.
I still have that somewhere. I kept it. It's like the lease agreement was literally like a 15-page, like the legal sized handwritten yellow pad. That was the lease. And he goes to,
Yeah.
every time he does a new thing, he just rewrites the lease by hand.
Hmm.
It was the most
Yeah.
ludicrous thing in the world.
Yeah. I saw mine. I kept some bills, how I like to just write on little pieces of paper, like the mill, and
Yeah.
then you'd write like what the bill was, some random snow plowing, whatever. So yeah, quite an
Oh yeah,
interesting time in
yeah.
our lives.
Yeah, yeah. He would come in with like the random like, I'm just like, why are you charging me for the snow shoveling or whatever? Like, isn't that part of it? Just build that into the rent. Like, why do we have to have all
Yeah.
these like little bills? And then of course when elevator inspection day came around, that was always a big
Oh yeah.
thing. When the city had to
Yep.
come and inspect the elevator, he was
Hmm.
always worried they were going to like shut the place down, which they probably should have.
Yeah.
Um,
Yep.
but
Oh, the worst thing for
I do miss that place.
yeah, I know. It had its quirks is a nice word for it, but it was nice. Good memories, of course. But yeah, the thing that was the most challenging for our business was the game day. Like whenever the football
Yeah,
games were happening and they took over the entire parking lot and stuff, we couldn't do any events or productions or anything on those weekends. So that was a little tricky, but
yeah.
you know, it was an interesting time.
I do miss that place, but um, yeah, maybe I should send Craig a text and see how he's doing.
I mean,
Um,
just come to the market with me on a Saturday morning. You'll see him. He's there with his wife every Saturday.
oh, okay.
I run
I know
into him
we've seen his wife a
frequently.
couple times when we were there together
Yeah.
at the coffee shop or whatever. All right. Well, anyway, a little behind the scenes on the Chris love story. Um,
Yeah.
so
it could have been an enemy story. It
it
could have
could have
been
been,
rivals.
yeah,
Took over that space when you were
the origins of the arch nemesis. Um,
yeah.
but they were weird. They were weird folks. But anyway, so this show we talk about things from the game industry. I've pulled out some articles that we're going to discuss. But I think for you, as someone who is not in the games industry per se, but has been around us, has assisted with GDEX, um, has relatively recently in life become a gamer to the point where you've been doing some hardcore gaming. You've been in the From Software world a little bit. Destiny
Mhm.
2 got its hooks in you. We
Yep.
are now in. I'd say we're pretty deep into Fallout 76 for the moment. I've been enjoying that.
Yep.
I would love if we could get, because I think there's 24 people in the server. I would love if we could get like a little Discord group or like just a group that always sort of plays on the same server. I know you can create custom servers, but I don't think you get to save your game progress if you do that.
Mhm.
But that would be cool if people wanted to play on PlayStation. Unfortunately, it's not cross-play, which is lame. But
Mhm.
you have to be in the PlayStation world. But I thought it'd be interesting to have some discussions about things. So, do you want
Mhm.
to start with GDEX or end with GDEX?
Let's end with GDEX since we can you can do any announcements you have or updates at the end while we're talking about GDEX if that makes sense to you.
Okay, that that works. Now, also as a side note, I don't know if you can hear it, but they're doing some concrete work outside. So,
Just
uh,
barely, but I'm also wearing like headphones that aren't in ear, so maybe it's picking up and I'm just not catching it.
okay. Well, I guess for our audience, um, and so why don't we start then with this article, which I found kind of interesting. This would be an easy article. Oops, I don't want to do that. I want to do this. Easy article to pick on people about, but I don't want to do the picking on. I want to talk about it. Here we go. So boom and
Quick shout out to Tom. Hey, what's up, Tom? I'm not playing Elden Ring at the moment, but I've got close to 200 hours in it, and I don't even think I'm halfway through. It's my first from soft game, so I'm just kind of mostly treating it like you would like Breath of the Wild. I'm just kind of wandering around. So, but I'm excited for the DLC.
cool. So here we go. Helldivers 2 director defends Elden Ring Shadow of the Erd Tree difficulty. Helldivers 2 director Johan Pilstedt. This is from IGN, from Ryan Dinsdale, the author. Has defended From Software for the difficulty of Elden Ring. So, as reported by PC Gamer Bilstedt, responded to someone on Twitter who complained about the intense difficulty of Shadow the Erd Tree, which has become a heavily discussed topic since launch. Apparently, some of the Steam reviews are also between some stability issues, but also a lot of people are complaining that the difficulty is too hard for this. Every time From Software creates a game, we have this conversation. But this person wrote, the problem with this design philosophy is it only caters to a select audience. I tried Dark Souls 1. I assume Dark Souls 1, maybe Demon Souls 1. After defeating the first couple of bosses, I realized it wasn't fun or rewarding. I only felt relief, not accomplished. I stopped playing DS because of this. And then Pile Stat said, a game for everyone is a game for no one. Always cater to a select audience. So, you, as somebody who entered into the From Software world without any experience, really, what are your thoughts right off the bat on, I guess not necessarily the expansion, but just sort of the From Software philosophy in general?
I mean, I think that with Elden Ring, in my experience, it's been relatively easy introduction because I got to choose like kind of my difficulty with which build, and I think that some builds obviously become more powerful as you progress through the game, and some builds become less. And so like my build was really challenging at the beginning because I was doing a lot of melee combat and I didn't really know how to guard or block or really even how to dodge properly. And so I was dying a lot to even just like low level enemies because I was just running up and swinging my sword and hoping that I would kill them. And so I think from the perspective of having that build flexibility, it seems to me like Elden Ring's got a lot of options and really maybe people are just rushing through it too much. For me, I've never really come to an area yet where I just could not beat certain enemies or bosses because I've, almost always been over leveled for the area because of the fact that I do so much exploration and I just level up from just general gameplay. So I can imagine that if people are trying to play it like a 20 to 40 hour experience, it would probably be very difficult depending on the build they chose, especially if they don't choose like a caster type build. Um, that's been my experiences. Like, you know, once you get the game mechanics and stuff, it doesn't seem terribly hard. I do wish some of the bosses were a little easier because I personally don't like the idea of having to grind more than, you know, 20 times to beat a boss. If I have to
So
put more
that's
than
where I
10.
want to come in there for a second. I'm going to turn myself down
Yeah,
here,
yeah.
just because there's some work going on out there. So hopefully you all
Okay.
can still hear me okay. But that's where I want to start because I know we've talked about that before. When we played Elden Ring for a little bit together, you mentioned you was like, I don't like dying on bosses. Like I think you said like 4 or 5 times. You've since upped it to 20 times here on this podcast. But
Yeah.
I think there is a definite. God, this thing is so loud out there. There is a definite design sensibility that From Software has. That is, can you guys hear that? It is like deafening on my end. Okay,
I can't. No.
I'll
What
try
about
to
you,
just
Tom?
talk over it. So no, oh here, maybe I can do my try to do my yeah. There we go. That didn't really help,
Noise
but
canceling? Nice.
it helped a little bit. But so yeah, it's one of those things where I think I agree with the sentiment that well, maybe I should a game for everyone is a game for no one. I don't necessarily agree with that, but I do agree with the sentiment, and I firmly believe whenever you're creating art that you don't need to. Everything doesn't have to be for everyone, right? Not every
Mhm.
experience has to be for everyone, and I know there's a lot of conversations, and we can discuss this if we want about around accessibility in From Software games because they're just not accessibility options in them, and so if you have
Mhm.
a physical or a mental handicap or disability that might prevent you from exploring it, it's just not going to be the game for you. It's just not going to
Yeah.
work. Um, and I think that there is something about that I think From Software players like the whole point of that experience is the challenge. And there's always broken builds. Like it's always possible to craft a couple builds that are just like Usually it happens around fire and magic. You can just craft something that just totally wrecks shop. I usually don't tend to go for those builds because I want there to be like I want to be able to build a build that isn't like breaking the game mechanically because there's some sort of weird thing that is happening because of the RPG system that exists.
Mm.
Um, and I platinumed Bloodborne. I saw a lot of discussions around this where people are like, Bloodborne's the easiest of the. They were talking about Elden Ring, and they're like, Bloodborne's the easiest of the From Software games. I was like, I don't think so. I think Elden Ring is the easiest of the From Software
You would
games.
think.
I do
Yeah,
think. I
'cause
think.
it's
I
not
think
linear. Yeah.
yeah, because it's not linear. You can go explore around. I think it's easier to level up in that game. And even in From Software, it's like not, it's not a traditional kind of level up system the way a lot of RPGs are, where like you can keep leveling up, but you start
Mhm.
to get a pretty sharp drop off and like diminishing returns as you
Yeah.
increase in level. Like the cost to, increase level by level starts to become pretty extraordinary. Uh, but I I like that there are game companies that make games that are challenging. Some of my favorite games like
Mm.
Hotline Miami or I mean Rogue Legacy is pretty hard, but it's not, I don't think it's incredibly hard. I'm trying to think. I bet if I went through my platinums to see like what my hardest games were, I'd have some interesting ones. But I like that there are difficult games. But I also get why some people don't want to bang their head
Yeah.
against the wall for 3 hours or whatever. I get that, but my response to them would not necessarily be, well, the answer isn't to make Elden Tree easier. The answer is for you to go find a game that fits more within, you know. But am I
Or
off
play
on
it
that? What do you think?
differently.
Yeah, or play it differently.
Well, I mean, the most of the bosses are optional, and the bosses that aren't optional so far that I played against aren't the hard ones. Like I'm not struggling with um, the kind of main storyline bosses so far. I'm not super far into the game, even though I have a lot of hours in it. Because again, I've just been treating it like an exploration game because it's just so gorgeous and there's just so much to see, and it's
Yeah,
fun to run into new things. Um, I don't know the names of all the enemies, but the two that I'm struggling with currently, there's like these bug-like, almost like lion-like creatures that have like gravity attacks. They're in these big nests, and I can't quite figure out what to do with these guys. Like I've tried on horseback and I've tried not, and I just can't beat them.
yeah,
And then there's like a twin blade double gargoyle fight. They're like these big gargoyle birds, and they're only really immune to like actual like impact damage. So you have to hit them, and they just are really. I've watched videos and stuff, and I just really struggle fighting them. And
yeah. Well, I
I
think
don't
that's
think
the
it's a build issue or a level issue. I think it's just a skill issue, to be honest.
yeah, and that's ultimately like these games sort of hone and craft your skill. And
Mhm.
sometimes, you've been bugging me to play Elden Ring for years now, right?
2 years
And I
plus.
keep yeah, I keep saying that's like it's not that I have anything against the games. I just know I compare it to being like I said this yesterday, I think, where it's like, oh, I'm gonna go run a marathon, right?
Yeah.
Like I right now I'm in really good shape. I run 2 5Ks a week, easily. I don't stress out about it. If you were to tell me I needed to go run a marathon, I'd be like, I could do it, but I would need some time to like prep and practice. I don't
Mhm.
think I could. Maybe I could do it now, but I would be struggling to go from a 5K to a marathon.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel about From Software. It's like I have to be in the mindset to want to struggle and to push myself. And sometimes I just don't
Yeah.
want to do that. Sometimes I just want to play a game and enjoy it. But I don't fault
Yeah.
Elden Ring for that. I just look at it
No.
like I'm not in that space right now.
Mhm.
And I think like Fallout 76 I think has a pretty good difficulty range where
Oh,
there's
yeah.
sometimes where I'm just kind of going through and taking care of stuff and then you'll be on some quest and you'll encounter a thing that just like wrecks you and you're like, "Oh, okay,
Yeah,
I need
one
to like
shot. It's just
yeah,
you're
I need to
dead.
start focusing on actual strategy and skill and not just running around, willy-nilly shooting everything." So I
Yeah.
think that's
We're
got like a
never in
good
power armor.
yeah, and I never wear power armor either. Which is funny in Fallout 4, I'm wearing power armor all the time, but um, But yeah, I think that there's a range of games in the chat that mentioned Cuphead. You and I have talked about making Cuphead a game club
Mhm.
game for years, and I
Oh
just
yeah,
never I haven't done it because it is a hard game, and I want to be in that space because I know it's you're gonna die a lot, and you're gonna need to like
yeah,
really focus on it. And we've played, a game like Resident Evil. That's like an actiony game, like that can get hard. Resident Evil 8 can get hard, but I never felt like it really pushed me to the absolute max, like trying to
yeah.
platinum Hotline Miami or something did. Um,
Mhm.
and yeah, I feel like I'm gonna rant here for a second too, as a game developer and just as somebody who enjoys the art. I also feel like there's this weird sense of entitlement. Like people feel like everything they buy, they need to buy and cater to them. There's a great book called The Paradox of Choice, which I highly
Mhm.
recommend everyone read. I would show it to you, but I got a dog on my lap. Uh, but one of the things that he talks about, and he uses this phrase, I say it all the time, which is everything is better back when everything was worse. He uses jeans as an example, where he's like, the general thing of the book, the general like gist is that we actually have too many choices. The free market,
Mhm.
uh, like the shtick with the free market is like, oh, you get, unlimited choice. You can get exactly what you want when you want it. And his argument is
Mhm.
that by creating these environments that have so much choice, it actually just sets us up continually for disappointment. And he
Yeah.
uses Gene, so he's older than us. I don't know how he's probably in his late 50s, early 60s at this
Mhm.
point. And he would talk about when he was growing up in like the 70s, and he would go and buy jeans. You would have like two or three different colors of jeans and like two or three cuts, and then you'd have the sizes in each of those. So it's like you wanted blue jeans in this style, and then you found the size that worked for you, and that was it. And you'd take it home and you'd be like, okay, this works. Now you've got so many styles and cuts and variants that you spend so much time selecting, and then you get um, your decisional paralysis on what you want, and then you buy something, and then you're inevitably not happy with it because in the back of your mind, you're like, I'm sure I should have bought something else. There was probably a better thing for me there.
Yeah,
Um,
better deal or a better option, more
yeah,
expensive one that you could have splurged a little more on and it would give you more, but you decided to go for the to be responsible and spend a little bit less, and now you're disappointed that you didn't get the bells and whistles you didn't get. And
yeah, and I
yeah.
think that there is definitely like if you buy in general, if you buy things too cheap, you're going to pay for it in the long run. But there is definitely a cutoff. Some people call it like the value limit, but there's a cutoff where it's like,
Mhm.
okay, I could spend $20 on this, or I could spend $50 on this, or I could spend $100 on this. The $50 one is going to give me the best, like quote unquote, value. Whereas the $100 one might give you a brand name. Like, I don't buy brand name anything really, except for Apple, unless I buy Apple products. Um, but I do my research and try to buy good quality stuff. But anyway, my point around video games is I do think there's like this sense of entitlement where people buy something, they're like, well, I spent $70 on this, I should enjoy it. And I'm just like, why?
Mhm.
There's no
Yeah.
guarantee that because you bought a product, you're going to enjoy it. A creative product, right? Now, this is
Yeah.
different. Like if you went out to, I don't know, a restaurant and just a normal run of the mill restaurant and bought food and it was like poorly cooked and whatever, okay. If you bought a video game that's like completely janky and just falling apart at the seams and just doesn't work, I mean, okay, I get you. Elden Ring is not that game. Elden
No.
Ring is a multiple game of the year winner. It is a beautiful, well designed game. Mechanically, it does a lot of really, really cool stuff. It is a
Mhm.
excellent game. Um, and so I just don't think you don't get to, I hate to say you don't get to enjoy everything, but like everything is not for everyone.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree, and I know that for me going into Elden Ring, I was a little nervous because I felt like ultimately I knew it was gonna be a hard game, and I never played a game like that, so I thought it was gonna be too hard for me. And I love just the, like, design choices and the game experience choices where, like, you're met with a boss you can't a mini boss that you can't defeat or most people can't defeat as in right off the bat, with the limited armor and everything you start with. And then, right when you come out, the first, large object you see is this tree sentinel, which most people can't beat, right away as well. And so it's nice that they present you with like these moments where you're forced to go and explore and to figure out, okay, maybe I need a new weapon or maybe I need different armor to fight it. But you kind of come to realize as a new player to the FromSoft experience that you have to like, collect these resources and level up, and then eventually you can have a better fighting chance with those enemies. So I thought that was a fun design choice because I've never really played a game that did that. Where
Yeah,
personally, like Horizon didn't do that. I don't remember Last of Us doing that. So the games that I have played, which is not a ton, No Man's Sky, like the games that I've played don't really have that kind of encounter at the beginning that kind of forces you to figure out, okay, like how do I play this differently? Because clearly it's not like every other game I've played so
yeah.
far.
And From Software has a very like specific. I mean, every I haven't played Sekiro, but like every From Software game has that part where like you kind of get used to the combat a little bit, you get used to the movement, and then like in the first 5 minutes they throw a big boss at you that just
Yeah.
splatters. That's the game's way of letting you know like shit's gonna get real
Mhm.
here. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, and there are some people like the thing with those From Software games is every single one of those starting bosses you are capable of killing at the beginning
Mhm.
if you know how to play the game. It's just going to take a while because you don't have any upgrades, you don't have any weapons, or but you can. There's players that are able to kill those first bosses, right? Um,
Mhm.
and I do think that uh, Tom mentions video games equals joy. I know their emotion is allowed to be explored. I do think that that's a funny way of putting it, where some games are about the hard challenge of making it through and being like, okay, I overcame this,
Yeah.
and whether you get joy from that or not, like I don't know if Bloodborne gave me joy, but I certainly felt that when I finished it and when I platinumed it, I felt a sense of accomplishment. I was like, okay, I did this. Now, again, it's just a trophy on a list that will disappear when I die. It's not going to give me anything of
Oh,
value,
I
probably,
I
but
will be printing off your platinum trophies, and they will be a part of your funeral. You better believe
yeah,
that.
you can laser etch them into my tombstone.
There you go.
Um,
Hey, yeah, you will be recognized for your accomplishments, and I think that like that is honestly why I think you've been avoiding Elden Ring as long as you have. And avoid may not be the right word, but like I feel like when you get into a game, you're like I'm gonna marry this game,
yeah,
and I
I'm in
think
it.
yeah, and for like even Fallout, the way that you play Fallout versus me, like every event. You're like going to every event, you're doing all this stuff, and like a lot of times I'm just wandering around picking up stuff and
I mean,
being over encumbered.
I do a lot of, yeah, you are over encumbered a lot. I do run around a lot. I really enjoy just kind of getting lost in that world, and I found so many cool things,
Tom,
so
you're
many
so
like
funny.
just really cool moments in that game. But I do kind of keep an eye. I try to keep a balance because like the events are how, I mean, you get a lot of experience, but the events are how you get the modules to be able to do
Mhm.
legendary crafting. And I
Yeah.
know I don't need to do that now, right? But I know
Mhm.
at some point I am going to want to do crafting. So I might as well just hit up an event every so often and grab that stuff, and then I just keep it off to the side for when I do need it, because I don't want to like, get all the pieces of armor. Like I've been trying to get all the pieces of this armor set. I don't want to get all the pieces of the armor set and then not be able to do anything with it, right? Not be able to
Yeah.
craft it. Um, but yeah, I do tend to, and I think that's just part of, I'm a game developer, right? Like, and
Mhm.
even before I was a game developer, when I play games, I really dig into like, okay, how do the systems work? How do these things come together? That's one of the things I loved about Path of Exile is just like, I joke when it says, you need a PhD to fully understand that game. Um,
Mhm.
I'm not joking. Like the way all of the mechanics work together, it is a thing of beauty because of how challenging it is. And then I appreciate it, as janky as Fallout 76 is, as janky as Bethesda games are. That engine is doing a lot of stuff that other engines only dream about, you know? And
Yeah.
as a developer, I think that's just really cool to see that. Um, and
Yeah.
when I go into something like Path of Exile or whatever, I'm looking at how all of these different, the difference between additive damage and multiplicative damage, and the difference between having like physical damage and doing a physical damage to elemental damage conversion. Like all
Mhm.
of those systems are really interesting. And I dig into games so that I can kind of understand them. And we were talking
Yeah.
earlier when we were playing Fallout. That's one of the reasons I don't tend to play multiple games at one time. I don't tend to read books. Like I usually like I read a book at once. I know some people they'll be like, I'm reading like three or four books. I like to just be in and present in whatever I'm doing.
Mhm.
And I've always kind of been that way. Like if we go and watch a movie, like I want to watch the movie. I don't want to be watching the movie while on my phone on Instagram while talking to somebody.
Yeah.
And now, side note, as I get older and the world becomes crazier, I find pulling back and trying to be present and focused on what's in front of me is becoming increasingly more important. And I'm sure you feel that
Oh,
way a
yeah.
lot with just it, and you've got your daughter just graduated high school, like moving on to
Mhm.
being an adult, like those moments.
Yeah, she just got her license on Saturday. I'm super proud and also
Nice.
terrified.
Yeah.
It's
Just
a strange combination.
the world's moving quickly, and I think that focusing on one thing, like teaching yourself to focus on one thing. I remember, I think we talked about this going off the rails here a little bit, but when I during COVID, I was reading a book a week for a while. I haven't done that in
Mhm.
a long time, and I just remember reading and be like, I could barely get through like 5 or 10 minutes, and I would just be like, oh my god, I'd be exhausted or distracted or whatever.
Yep.
Um, it's a skill like everything else. Games are a skill. Reading is a skill. Learning how to focus and have motivation is a skill. And everyone's coming from like a different part in it, but um, I do think it's easy in the game developer world. Anyone who's a game dev on our listening right now gets this. There's that sort of insatiable like I'm working on a game. I'm in the meat of developing it, which isn't always the most fun part because it's a lot of work. And the back of your mind is like, well, maybe I'll just go work on. I'll start this new project off on the side. And then the new
Yeah.
project just starts to explode a little bit. And then before you know it, it's like 50-50 new project and old project,
Yeah.
and then in the new project you get to the point where it all becomes work and you're like, well, maybe I'll just start on this new idea on the side. I
Yeah.
get it, like the new
Yeah, the
idea phase of
distraction
stuff.
from the distraction.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's something enticing. I mean, I have a friend who I rarely see, but he's like my wife's former coworker, and they're really good friends. He's her husband, and so we see each other at like their kind of company parties and stuff. And he's always like, it's really impressive to me that you kind of get to that point of mastery with things. Like when you pick something up, like the banjo or whatever, where you really focus in on it, and you get to a point where you're like pretty good at it, and you kind of like master what you kind of set out to master, even if it's not mastery. It's just like kind of getting to that point where you feel very competent and confident in what you're doing. And he said, like, I'm just constantly doing, starting something and kind of dabbling with it for a little bit and then moving on to the other thing. And I explained to him, kind of like you're saying, is like sometimes for certain people that's the fun part, is just the kind of the starting phase, kind of the honeymoon phase of any new idea or new project or new hobby. And so I was trying to encourage, like, tell them, like, it's not wrong to do that. It's just obviously, like, if it's not bringing you joy, then obviously you shouldn't do that. But if that's your
Yeah.
process, that's your process.
Yeah, totally. I
So,
think that there's nothing wrong. Like every so often, I'm taking guitar lessons now, and there's sometimes I find where it's just like some weeks I just don't want to do the hard thing. I want to go learn a song that's easy. Like I learned Mr. Jones by Counting Crows
mhm,
a couple weeks ago, maybe a month ago. That song's super easy, super easy. It's pretty much the same thing all the way through. It consists of like six different chords, um,
yeah,
and they're all pretty much variants around C and D. I mean, it's the C D G combo, throwing a
mhm,
little A minor in there for fun. But sometimes it's nice to like just take a step back and like see your skills have developed, like being able to play a song that's now easy to you pretty well. But
mhm,
yeah, if you want to get good at something, you do have to push yourself. But it's just like they say there's a lot in working out because there's this, New Year's resolutions come along. I'm going to get in shape. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to work out. And you start pushing it to the limit, and then you hurt yourself, right?
yep,
And the reality is, when you see all these like big muscly guys, your Schwarzeneggers and whatever, like professional bodybuilders, they are not running, professional athletes, they're not running at 100% all of the time. They're running at like
Yeah.
80%, so that when they get to that big event, then they can go 100%. And
Yeah.
so, you want to push yourself to 100% every so often, but you just can't
Mhm.
do it all the time. You're just going to burn out, or you can get tired, or you can get sick, or whatever. Um, and back to, I feel like playing the From Software games, like you got to be
Mhm.
on the ball. Um,
Yeah.
it-
And with games like that, it seems like people really struggle to enjoy and adapt to them, like gamers. Like, there's so
yeah,
much either really positive praise or really negative. It's very polarizing. Because even with like Lords of the Fallen, obviously, like not a From Soft game, but kind of in the
yeah,
same,
in the vein, yeah,
Souls like, people were complaining about like, the density of all the enemy spawns and stuff like that, and just how challenging it was, but then how the bosses weren't as challenging. And I played it. I wasn't able to get it at launch, but I played it after the first patch when I guess they toned down the enemy density. And for me personally, I liked that really challenging, like kind of pushing through these corridors and fighting all these different types of enemies to get to the boss. And I enjoyed the boss being something I could beat in maybe like 3 or 4 tries, because that 3 or 4 tries I was figuring out the boss's moves, and it wasn't like I showed up, the boss killed me immediately, and then I had to start again. It was like, I'd get the health bar down halfway, and then I'd get 75%, and then it was nice to be able to like have the experience of like really, because it is linear, it's not open world like Elden Ring. It was nice to be able to kind of like move these beautiful spaces and then get to the boss and then be able to beat it. That was a nice like flow for me, but there was a lot of negativity towards that, and I just feel like these games that are meant to be challenging, like they seem to be very polarizing.
yeah. So think about a game we played this year for Game Club, um, Returnal,
Mhm.
which was a pretty challenging game. Now I platinumed that game, and I found it to be pretty hard at first. Like when we were playing
Thank
it
you.
together. What's that?
So Wolf Game said, "Nice banjo."
Oh, um, and I, we were playing it together at the beginning, and then I had trouble. But then eventually, like I think I beat areas. I want to say three, four, five, and six all in one go without dying.
Oh, yeah,
I
you skyrocketed that game, and then I couldn't keep up anymore.
yeah. And the thing is, like, once I started to see behind the scenes how it all fit together, um, the game's actually not that hard. It's
Mhm.
challenging, like for sure, and it is luck dependent in some ways on if you get certain, upgrades and stuff. But um, it's really actually not that hard. I think it presents itself as being a lot more difficult than it is once you kind of understand it. Like I think Bloodborne was much harder than Returnal. Um,
Mhm.
uh, but I think that having those challenges, visiting those, and that's for Game Club. I try to not throw too many of those types of games in there because
Yeah.
the point of Game Club is like something that's usually like 8 or 10 hours or less that busy people can
Mhm.
play and we can talk about together, right?
Yeah.
Um, and most From Software games do not. They're like 40 hours of just brutal, cruelty. But also,
Yeah.
I'm an older gamer, and I think that I just have a different sort of barometer of what difficulty is, because games in the 80s and 90s were fucking hard, man. They were really
Mhm.
hard. And there was a lot of like game design stuff where things were like cheap, it would just be, oh, that was a cheap kill or whatever, right? Like, because of the way the game
Yeah.
functioned. It's like there's literally almost nothing you could do. Battletoads is like notorious for this, where just it'll throw just like cheap ass shit at you. Um, and there's just some games where it's just like there's no telegraphing, you can't tell what's going to happen, you're just lucky if you dodge the thing. Like that kind of stuff
Yep.
doesn't even, as video game designers, like we've progressed well beyond that. You occasionally will see that stuff pop up here and there,
Mhm.
but that used to be like commonplace, where some of these games would just have like the most cheap things in it. um
Yeah.
and so I'm just kind of used to like difficult games.
Mhm.
And so I do like to, I played Fallout 4 on survival mode, and I wanted that, and I don't know how, I don't know if it keeps track of how many times you died, but I died a lot. Uh,
Yeah.
all right, let's jump to another thing. Unless you got last thoughts on this real fast, I kind of want to jump to this.
No, it's maybe off topic for us to talk about offline. I want to talk to you about Fallout 4 and if there's any correlations to the show because we're at the second to last episode. We're on the last episode now. We
Oh,
finished the
yeah,
second
there's
episode
plenty.
last night.
I think the show takes place like 20 years after Fallout 4 or something,
Okay,
whereas
I
Fallout
wasn't sure
76
if
takes
like
place well before all of those.
okay, yeah, because Fallout 76 is centered around Vault 76 from what I can remember. But does that mean that Fallout 4 is centered around Vault 4?
No, Fallout 4 is just the fourth one in the two.
Okay,
I think
okay,
it's Vault 101 and Fallout 4, I think,
okay.
if I remember
Because
correctly.
there's a Vault 4 in the show, and I wasn't sure if that
Yeah.
was kind of referencing the Fallout 4 game.
There's a really interesting theory. This is a little bit spoilery, I guess, not really for Fallout stuff, but there's a really interesting theory about Fallout 76. I'm pretty sure the designers or the devs haven't really thought of this, but maybe they have in the background or whatever. But that Fallout 76, whenever it ends, whenever this adventure ends, the story ends, is going to result in like Appalachia just being completely decimated because there's things that are happening in Fallout 76 that don't exist anywhere else in the Fallout universe, just sort of by the
Hmm.
nature of it being the most recent game in development, right? But it's the first game kind of in the Fallout series chronologically. So
Oh, interesting. Hmm.
so there's things that are, they're talking about. So, for example, you're going to be able to play as a ghoul in
Yeah,
as an update
I'm
coming
excited for
sometime
that.
in 2025. And Bethesda said you'll be able to jump back and forth between being a ghoul and not being a ghoul if you want to, which leads you to believe there's probably going to be some sort of cure for ghouls, right? But there's no cure for ghouls
Hmm.
in the other Fallout games. So does that mean
Hmm.
that a cure was developed for ghouldom in Fallout 76, but never got out of Appalachia because Appalachia was destroyed at some point, So I think that's kind of
That'd be
interesting. Is if,
interesting.
yeah, if Fallout 76 is going to end, if the final update for it is just like complete Armageddon, and
Yeah,
you play it for like the final 2 or 3 months of the season, and then the Appalachia just completely gets annihilated off the map. So that's just sort of a
yeah.
speculation, but that would be kind of cool, and it would fit in chronologically and narratively in the lore if all these things were the scourge beasts that we're solving. We created the inoculation and stuff.
The
If
cure is moonshine.
yeah,
That's funny.
yeah, the cure for
That would be
most things.
cool.
The cure for most things in Fallout is drugs or alcohol. So
You
uh,
might be onto something though, because if we imagine like Fallout 76 as kind of like a game, that's not like Fortnite, but has that kind of, cross-play, multiplayer feel. Like them destroying the map could be them making room for a new map, essentially, because they do that in
yeah,
Fortnite, where the end of like chapters, the map will essentially like in
I
some
could
way be decimated.
I could see them doing something because I don't Fallout 76 is not a big cash cow for them, though I think it is making a good amount of money. And then when the TV show hit, it skyrocketed. I think if they really went in and they were serious about it, and they
Hmm.
turned it into like like a real MMO, and I don't mean like a Warcraft MMO, but like implemented just some of the basic features of the MMO, they could like destroy the world in Fallout 76 and then do like a 200 years later, and that could be the hotbed for Fallout 5. That could be the
Yeah.
starting zone for Fallout 5 or something. They could do something like that. um
Hmm.
cool. So I want to, just for fun, as we're getting close to our time's flying by, our time always flies by.
It's flying
It's
by.
the Yeah, earlier when we were playing, you were like, "Are you going to do the Fostnock event?" I was like, "What?" Because I had swore I just looked at it happens every hour on the hour, and I was like, I literally looked at my phone. I was like, "Where did 15 minutes go?" Like I just completely lost. Granted, I haven't gotten a lot of sleep since baby
Yeah.
was sick, but so
I really hope she feels
uh,
better tonight so you can
I
get some
want to
good
do a
sleep.
I want to do a check in real fast here. So PS5 Pro leaks, rumors, everything we need to know. This is on Tom's Guide. So these are all rumors, but um, we saw a couple weeks ago. I don't know if you saw Ewa. I guess I can turn this up. That Xbox made an announcement that they are releasing some revamps of the Xbox Series consoles this fall, which leads me to believe more and more that the PlayStation 5 Pro is going to be coming out this holiday season, even though there hasn't really been any
Mm.
announcements about it. Um, what are your feelings on it? Are you going to buy a Pro? Are you going to stick with the PlayStation 5? Is it going to depend on what the specs are, or what are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that would get me to buy a Pro is if there's more storage. So if I could basically take and
You have your
put
internal SSD, right?
I do, yeah. But, like, the idea of having more internal storage on the device and then adding the SSD to it, that would be appealing to me. I don't know that anything else would really appeal to me since the PlayStation 5 runs so well. It's been very reliable. I haven't had any issues with, like, overheating. I've got the disc version, so I can put discs in,
Yeah.
for games, like, if you have a game for me to borrow, whatever, which I really like that feature. So I don't know. I think the fact that they had such a slow launch, like, even when I bought my PlayStation 5, it was probably close to at least 8 months after it launched, and I was still struggling to get it,
It
like,
was a little
I
while. I remember you were gonna buy a scalper. You're like, should I get one from a scalper? I was like, no, don't do it. Don't do it.
dude, I wish I would've got that one off of you. I don't know what I was thinking. I had no idea it was gonna be so hard to get them, but,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's all right.
yeah, I ended up getting I had to buy it as a bundle from GameStop. It was still, like, almost $800 because you have to buy a bunch of crap you don't want, like extra controller, 2, 3 games, whatever, a gift card, but I feel like with how long it took them to get it out and to get into stores more specifically, I think it'd be smart for them to wait another year, but, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they launched the Pro this season.
I think
Um,
they launched the Pro for the PS4 3 years into their life cycle. We're already 4 years
mm,
in the PS5, so I think if we don't get a PS4, a PS5 Pro this season, to be honest, I think they might just jump to the PS6 potentially next
yeah.
year. Um,
Well, what benefit would it have to, like, game developing? Because, like, I feel like we're already kinda getting to that point where I've experienced with, like, cameras and stuff where they're basically just making things bigger, better just because they can, not because they need to, and
yeah,
eventually, like, when the console surpasses the viewing hardware, when they go to 8K or 10K and then everyone has to upgrade to a new monitor that can support that. Like at some point, they're just doing them like they're not gonna be able to sell $600 device if you have to buy a 1,200 to $3,000 monitor to go with it. Um,
yeah,
I just wonder if we're getting to that point where like, what are they gonna sell us? Like, what's gonna be better and bigger than what we already
S-
have?
yeah. So there's a great conversation about that sort of similar topic on um, Digital Foundry, where they looked at the supposed specs for the PS5 Pro, and it's got a pretty substantial graphics card update.
Hmm.
Um, but the CPU is getting a very, very modest upgrade, like very modest. And they were thinking that that probably just has to do with the kind of core architecture for the PS5. Like if they were to integrate a CPU that was stronger or different or more advanced, they'd have to rework the architecture of the PS5, and they just don't want to do that because that doesn't make sense. At that point, you're making a new kind of device, right? Um,
Mhm.
but uh, that also brings up like there are a lot of games right now that the CPU is the defining factor in how they're performing. And
Okay.
you can see that a lot in Fallout 76. Like there's a lot of stuff that like is just probably bad CPU threading and stuff. I hate to say bad, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
These people do put a lot of effort into making this engine. They know what they're doing, um,
Yeah.
but I think that the big thing is my guess is that the PS6 is going to be focusing on true 4K, 60 frames per second. That is my guess, with probably a variable refresh rate at 120 frames per second. So maybe it's 4K, or sorry, a variable resolution, um, running at 4K, and then maybe going up or down a little bit to be able to hit 120. But I think the goal
Mhm.
is 60 frames per second minimum at 4K. And I know a lot of like hardcore, you know, PC gamers are like 60 FPS is garbage or whatever, but the vast majority of the world does not need to run at 120 or 244 hertz. They just
Yeah.
don't need to. So that would be my guess. And the reason I say that is because um, pretty much the entire hardware world has been following Apple's example for over a decade, which is you create sort of foundational generational leaps, and then you implement on it a little, iterate a little bit over time, right?
Mhm.
And to your point, I think 8K TV adoption is like less than 2% in the US or something. It's
Yeah.
it's incredibly small. I just looked it up here.
It's a slower
A
adoption rate than the 4K was originally.
Yeah, so I mean, here is a 65-inch 8K TV is $4,800 from Samsung, right? And that's a QLED.
Mhm.
If you were to get an OLED, let's see if they even sell one on Amazon. Um, it would probably be astronomical. This is a yeah. Here's an LG 77-inch OLED. It's 10 grand. So, um, and I think that like 4K adoption is still not. Um, let's look it up for fun. 4K adoption in US. Uh, According to Statistica, so take that for what it's worth. 44% of US households have a 4K capable TV. So we're not even at
So
50%
it's
yet.
still less than half,
So
yeah. Mhm.
we have at least another console generation before we are even thinking about 8K. And to your
Yep.
point, like, I say this now, like, do we even need 8K, right? Maybe in 5 years, I'll be like,
Yeah.
oh, wow, we definitely need 8K. But I would rather the processing power be spent on maybe some really cool rendering techniques, ray tracing, path tracing. I would love to see more comp units spent towards things like AI, like NPC AI, character enemy
Yeah,
AI,
improving
not like
face
AI AI.
animations and stuff like that, yeah.
Well, just like having characters be able to respond in smarter ways, being able to do more
Mhm.
simulation based computer work in your games, I think would be really cool.
Yeah.
Like interesting weather and water effects, like um,
Mhm.
being able to have, like, again, this is one of the cool things that Fallout 4 does that, like, other games aren't doing this. Like, and it sounds so silly, but Fallout 4, Fallout 76, when you tell a character like an NPC to go from one of your settlements to the other, they literally walk the entire way. So like
Yeah.
you can follow them the whole way, right? Other games, you would see them kind of walk off in the distance and then they just disappear, right?
Yeah.
But like this character will literally, and you can walk with them the whole way. Like just think
Mhm.
about the pathing and the AI that's needed to do that. And if they get attacked along the way, they have to respond. Like
Yep.
that stuff's really cool. And if you're not near them, they're obviously not being rendered, but the game is still calculating where they are
Yeah, and how long it
during
take and
that
everything.
during that path. Yeah. So like
Yeah.
those kind of cool things, um, I would much rather have us use our CPU and maybe GPU, depending on what the sort of rendering thing is. Um, because that's kind of like, again, being an old man, that was kind of the promise of video games when we were growing up. Is like
Mhm.
we'd see these big leaps in technology and be like, oh man, what are the cool things can we do with this? And over
Yeah.
time, it's more or less kind of just devolved into making things look shinier, making things look
Yeah.
prettier, because that's what sells, right? It's easy to show a kick-ass looking game. Hellblade 2 looks amazing. It's way
Yeah.
way easier to showcase something that just looks incredible than it is to talk about the you know simulation effects that are allowed by this. Just it
Yeah.
doesn't sell, right?
Yeah, that Doom game looks really great. Just, like, the little snippet I saw, I don't remember if I saw it as, like, a YouTube ad or something, or, like, somebody was covering, like, the games that got covered in the,
Hmm.
Summerfest, but, I saw that and that looked really cool. Because I thought Doom was, like, a top-down type game. Maybe it goes back and forth, but
It does
When I
not.
saw it looked like a no, it's always been a first person? I'll
Yeah,
definitely have to check
it's
that
funny
out.
you say that. This is your newness into the game. Like Doom and id Software are like the people that created the first person shooter genre.
Hmm.
Like they weren't the only first person shooters at the time, but they started with Wolfenstein, then they went to Doom, Doom 2, Quake. Quake 3 Arena was a completely multiplayer PvP or PvP arena shooter. But like every game, Halo, Destiny, like whatever, pick your poison, like they all owe Doom a debt of gratitude because Doom pretty much created the first person shooter genre the way that we view it today. Um, and
Like,
that's kind of funny because in the first Doom, they sort of joke about it because Doom 3, God, when that game come out, like 2007 or something. Um, and then they didn't have another Doom game for a long time because everybody was like, Doom had its place in time, and nobody could kind of like figure out the Doom formula for the new
mm,
age. And then they did Doom, the re-release or remake or whatever in 2016. And that game's awesome. And Doom Eternal is awesome. And they really found a way to like bring the Doom DNA back. And John Carmack, one of the founders of id Software who made Doom, John Carmack and John Romero. John Carmack always had this saying that like video games are like pornography, like nobody's there for the story. Um, and in the first like 3 minutes of Doom 2016, they sort of make a nod to that where you get your gun, you get your helmet, you get in the elevator, and then there's like someone on the radio who's like talking to you, like, oh my God, the base has been infested by demons, we need help. Can you make it to whatever? And he just like smashes the radio because Doom guy, your character doesn't give a shit about the story. He is there to kill demons, and that is what you were there to do. Um,
that's hilarious.
and so like they really, and I think going back to the Dark Ages, Doom Dark Ages, my guess is that there's going to be a lot of really fun kind of callbacks to things like some of the original Doom expansion packs, as well as maybe even, I'm totally forgetting, it's not Riven, what the hell is that game called? Audience, if you can remember, it was the Doom clone that was based in the medieval times, where you had like magic and stuff. Totally blanking on it. Um, oh my god, it's killing me. Uh, but I'm sure there's going to be some fun callbacks to a lot of that kind of stuff. Um, so I don't know. I don't know. I think it'll be cool. Um,
Huh.
I haven't I platinumed Doom 2016. I didn't platinum. I need to go and like really play Doom Eternal. I didn't uh, get too much
Yeah.
into it, but I also think they're probably. I mean, I don't think that they can get away without making an Evil Dead reference. Uh, and like Evil Dead 3 is pretty much guy with shotgun and chainsaw arm goes back in time to the Middle Ages. Like there's gonna be some sort of call outs for that. So that'll be fun to
Yeah.
see too.
It's crazy, like, as we talk about all these games and stuff, and I'm sitting there thinking like, "Oh, I've never played that game, but I have that character in Fortnite." Like, the Doom guy was, like, I think,
Yeah.
level 100 battle pass a couple seasons ago, and I know that the guy from Resident or yeah, not Resident Evil, well, Resident Evil's in there, but, the one you were just describing with the chainsaw, he's in it. Um, yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do about Doom? Are you gonna get an Xbox finally? Isn't it an Xbox
Yeah.
exclusive for
No, I don't think
Oh,
it's
it's
an
not?
Xbox.
Okay.
I think they decided to um, make it multi-platform, if I remember correctly.
Evil Dead, yeah,
Let's
that's
see.
what it was
What's
called.
Yeah, Evil Dead. Yep. What
Mhm.
do you guys think? I'm pretty sure. Yeah, Doom Dark Ages announced for PS5. Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah, to answer
Yeah,
your question directly, no, I don't think I'll get the if they go for Pro, probably, like, I'm 90% sure I wouldn't get one. They would have to throw, like, a, you know, back rub simulator in there or something, like, to entice me, but,
yeah.
if they went for a PlayStation 6 next year, not this coming Christmas, but the following, I would more than likely jump on that. And
Yeah.
at the very least, just because I know that with how much I play on the PlayStation 5 and the fact that it's probably full of cat hair and I need to open it up and clean it, like I'd rather just have the console as like a backup and then use the PlayStation 6 and then give like the PlayStation 5 to my daughter until it goes to the PlayStation graveyard. Ideally,
Yeah,
in
I've
4
got
years or so.
my trainer has been it's very similar to you. I think I've infected him with video game stuff where
Oh, no.
he keeps he keeps talking about wanting to buy a PS5. He's like, well, maybe I should save some money. He's like, I got the money, but I could spend it on other stuff. I was like, well, why don't you just wait? Because I think there's going to be a PS5 Pro out this fall.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, if I buy the Pro, which I probably will do, because I don't spend a lot of money on stuff, but I do like to have my nerd tech. So I always buy a nice
Mhm.
TV. I'll probably buy a PS5 Pro, so I could just maybe sell him my PS5. Um, and I've got tons of games that he can borrow, and obviously you can borrow if you wanted. But um,
Mhm.
all right, man. Well, I feel like
Yeah,
we went on
good
we went on a
chatting.
little adventure there. Um,
Yeah, we did, as per usual.
so before we
Gee,
wrap this up, do you want to let the audience know? Is there any way that they can reach out to you and find you if you're so inclined?
um, well, I don't do social media anymore, so let's say if you wanna find me, go through
Go to
Chris,
go to
or
GDEX.
go to
You'll probably see him.
GDEX, or yep, or, just, look for me on Discord. I go by Glan, my gamer name is Glan, Glan, or
Yeah,
Glanger, but
and look up Game Club um, on Facebook or Twitter if you want to join us. And then of course you can. I've got the Volpe Creates Discord channel too. So I'm thinking about maybe getting a little Fallout group together, and then we are several days away from having to think of the next game, which I think would probably be Animal Well. I think I've been hearing great things
okay,
about that.
nice.
Um,
Yeah, I've got that.
come
I'm
here, sweetie.
excited.
Come here. I
Yeah, and
know.
definitely, when it comes to GDEX, I think you wanted to say something or bring something up, but I'm excited for GDEX this year. It'll be cool to see how everything works out. Oh, baby. Okay, there. Hi.
I brought her to Origins on
Yeah,
Saturday.
Sunday or Saturday?
Saturday, yeah.
Oh, yeah, you
She
didn't go
uh,
Sunday.
she was a very popular attraction at the booth. Uh,
Oh, I bet. Yeah, she's a popular attraction anywhere we go.
yeah. Um, but all right. Well, that has been.
You need to get a shirt with baby on it, and it says, "My eyes are up here,"
Yeah.
because everybody's always, like, looking down at your dog.
Yeah. Totally.
That'd be
Well, that has
hilarious.
been episode 27 of the Sandbox.Space weekly podcast, coming to you every week, Wednesdays at 10 a.m. Eastern on the Twitches. A reminder, we got big information at GDEX coming out over the next couple of weeks. So I would recommend following us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or www.thegdex.com. A great way to keep on top of everything. We also have the Sandbox.Space weekly email. So we take this video as well as all of the articles that we talk about in the video, and we put that on the email list. So I would really recommend checking that out. It's a good time. And then I think that I don't know if I want to announce this yet, just because I'm exhausted. But uh, we are really trying to get a GDEX. I don't know if it's going to be a monthly or a weekly show going for GDEX, where we'll bring like a guest that's going to be at the show, so a guest speaker, an exhibitor, something. I don't know if I'll do that live. I don't know, audience, let me know if you want to do it live so that people can ask questions and stuff, or I might just do it as like a series of little video conversations I have, and then we post it to the GDEX YouTube channel. So I'm still trying to navigate what that would look like, but just trying to create more content. It helps us at GDEX. It helps the people we talk to kind of get out there. But GDEX is going to be awesome this year. In fact, I am reneging on hanging out with Yua after this conversation. We were supposed to hang out because I just have some stuff I need to do for
He's
GDEX.
gonna be responsible. I get it.
Yeah, I'm going to be a responsible adult. I need to get this stuff done. I am running a business after all, but we'll figure something out. And then it is my birthday in a few days, so that's very, very exciting. I'll be turning 29, if you can believe it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Barely
know.
a day over 20.
Yeah, exactly. I was told the other day I was invited out to a business lunch uh, with these younger guys, and I was just like, how old are you? Because I was kind of curious, and one was like 27, I think, 29, and they're like, how old are you? I was like, I guess, uh, and they told me that they thought I was like late 20s, early 30s. So boom, I'll take it.
There you go.
Considering I'm
There
gonna
you
be
go.
40, I'm gonna be 43 in 3 days.
Yep.
So anyway, thank you all for watching the Sandbox.Space weekly podcast. Thank you everybody in the audience for commenting and providing great conversation for today. A lot of familiar faces and then a couple new ones. Again, you can watch this on YouTube on our GDEX YouTube channel. And please sign up for the Sandbox.Space weekly email list. It's the only thing we send out once a week. We send out an email. It's really good. A lot of great stuff on it. But otherwise, that has been episode 27 of the Sandbox.Space weekly podcast. Thank you, baby. I'm sorry you're not feeling well, but you seem to be doing okay.
Feel better.
Thank you, Yua, for joining us. A great conversation.
Of course.
I am your host, Chris, and we will see you next